Please, and let's take our seats. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. It's quite cold here. Distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, we gather here again at the heart of our financial markets, the Nairobi Securities Exchange, to ring the bell in celebration of yet another historic milestone. At the beginning of this administration nearly 3 years ago, I made a clear and firm commitment that we would build our nation by mobilizing local resources, encouraging a culture of savings, and channeling those savings into productive investments. The successful origination, structuring, and listing of the Lindsay 003 infrastructure asset-backed security, the first of its kind in Kenya, raising over 44 billion, is a landmark achievement by any measure. It affirms our confidence in market-based financing and demonstrates how we can sustainably fund large-scale infrastructure through our capital markets. This feat joins our G2G fuel supply innovation that many countries are now learning from us. The first ever asset-backed infrastructure securitization program that has raised over 175 billion off balance sheet, and our currency diversification strategy that is gradually reducing our borrowing costs. Today's listing reflects not only the deepening of our capital market, but also the innovation and sophistication now driving financial solutions that respond to the evolving needs of both the public and private sectors. Most importantly, it confirms our capacity to mobilize substantial domestic capital to finance strategic national priorities, reduce our reliance on external borrowing, and strengthen Kenya's economic resilience. The proceeds from this listing will directly support the construction of the Talanta Sports City Stadium, a compelling example of how financial markets can accelerate national transformation. The Talanta Sports City marks Kenya's first large-scale, purpose-built international stadium project in more than 40 years. The last comparable undertaking was the construction of Moi International Sports Center Kasarani, completed in 1987, ahead of the All Africa Games. Since then, Kenya has relied on aging infrastructure, with no new international standard stadium built from the ground up until now. With a 60-seater capacity, Talanta Sports City is not merely filling that long-standing gap. It is redefining the nation's sporting landscape. This modern, world-class complex is designed to host international tournaments, foster local talent, and restore Kenya's reputation as a sporting powerhouse. I commend the Nairobi Securities Exchange for the remarkable feat of facilitating 3 listings in a single month. This momentum reflects renewed energy, strong leadership, and strategic clarity. I also extend my congratulations to Lindsay, Finco Trust, and Liaison Group partners for their innovation in financial structuring. Ladies and gentlemen, the stock exchange is a critical gauge of economic health and investor sentiment. The strong recovery of the NSE with market capitalization now standing at 2.5 trillion, reflects the soundness and consistency of our economic policies. Some of the choices we have made have not been easy, and at times not popular, but they have been necessary. They have been strategic and forward-looking. These decisions have helped us stabilize the economy, restore investor confidence, and lay a firm foundation for growth into the future. Today, both local and international investors are looking at Kenya with fresh optimism and renewed trust. 2 weeks ago, during my visit to London in the United Kingdom, where 4 global giants, Lloyd's of London, Bupa International, Africa Specialty Risk, and Africa Finance Corporation signed their way into Kenya, I reaffirmed our commitment to expanding the depth and appeal of Kenya's capital markets. A key plank of this strategy is the diversification of state-owned enterprises through initial public offerings on the NSE, unlocking value, improving governance, and attracting long-term capital. We are implementing a structured, time-bound divestiture program, starting with the listing of the Kenya Pipeline Company. I expect the Cabinet to grant approval to this IPO shortly, and the Privatization Commission this morning is working on the final approval, and by September, by God's grace, we will have that listing here. Ladies and gentlemen, there is compelling evidence that privatization is necessary to eliminate inefficiencies and raise the standards of governance in our public enterprises. While other nations in the region have moved boldly and strategically to divest and reinvigorate their economies, Kenya has not undertaken a single privatization in over a decade. That is about to change. To further strengthen our capital markets, the National Treasury is developing a minimum disclosure and listing framework for all public interest entities operating in Kenya. We are raising the bar to require public entities to begin disclosing standardized financial and operational data in line with capital markets standards. Within 1 year of initial disclosure, they will be required to list at least 20% of their equity on the NSE. This reform will promote transparency, improve governance, expand local ownership, democratize wealth, and give Kenyans the opportunity to directly participate in our country's economic success. The Cabinet Secretary for National Treasury will immediately establish an industry council to guide this process. The Secretary for National Treasury will guide this process and create legal instruments for adoption. I am told already that there is a committee of experts that has been set up, and I hope Waziri is going to work with the industry to make sure that the council is created, either out of the committee of experts or a much more expanded group. As I conclude, allow me to once again point out that transformation is happening all around us. The pledges I made to Kenyans are being realized one by one, day by day, pledge by pledge. And I remain committed to fulfilling every single one of them. Our economy is stabilizing and growing. Today, Kenya is ranked the 6th largest economy in Africa, up from the 8th 2 years ago. Inflation has dropped from 9.6 in 2022 to 3.8 today. The exchange rate has stabilized at Kenya shillings 129 to the dollar for more than a year, down from Kenya shillings 165. And foreign exchange reserves have climbed to 11.8 billion US dollars from US dollars 6.5 billion. Food production is improving. Maize output, for example, has grown by 50%. And farmer earnings for tea, coffee, and milk have also increased significantly. The affordable housing program is now active in all 47 counties, employing 320,000 Kenyans. And that number is expected to double in a few months. While our labor mobility program has placed 400,000 Kenyans in jobs abroad, Climate Works is onboarding 120,000 workers, and our ICT digital jobs framework has 180,000 people working and monetizing their talent. In the health sector, 110,000 community health promoters are assigned to visit our homes, while more than 25 million Kenyans are enlisted with SHA, bringing us closer to universal health coverage and ensuring that access to quality health is not the privilege of a few, but a constitutional right for all. Our education reforms are also taking root. The CBC transition is complete. We have employed 76,000 teachers in 2 years and will hire another 24,000 in January. Our new student-centered funding model now guarantees quality and sustainable education. Additionally, our public savings at NSSF that stood at Kenya shillings 320 billion 2 years ago will double to 640 by the end of this year as our plan on revolutionizing our savings culture takes shape. Ladies and gentlemen, some have accused my administration of overpromising or taking on too many challenges at once. I have this to say. Yes, I made promises. Yes, I took on many challenges that had bogged down our nation for far too long. This wasn't a mistake. This was deliberate and intentional, so as to match our leadership with our national ambition, to raise the standard, to adjust the bar upwards, and to up our game. As a leadership, we have made peace with mediocrity for far too long. That is why slums became homes, hunger became normal, health became a privilege, and jobs became a status symbol. I promised to change this, and that change is happening. Fellow citizens, we are an ambitious nation and an ambitious people. That is who we are. And leadership must rise up to meet that ambition. That is why I made a solemn and unwavering commitment to lead from the front. The truth is, I had no choice. We could not stand by and watch the country drift. We do not and never have aspired to be average. When we aim for excellence, the bar must be higher. And yes, aiming higher invites scrutiny from critics, suspicion from cynics, and doubt from their cousins, the naysayers. But that is the nature of bold reform. It unsettles the status quo and challenges the comfort of the known and the familiar. The critics may say I am wrong. The cynics may say I am lying. And the naysayers may even say I am mad. But what if they are wrong? And they are. Pause for a moment. What if I am an agent of destiny for the transformation of our nation, whose promise has been delayed for far too long? Pause. Reflect. Think. Give me a chance and judge me fairly when the time comes. But we remain focused, purposeful, and committed to delivering what Kenya truly deserves. This is neither a gamble nor an experiment. It is a disciplined, determined, focused, and deliberate renewal of our nation's foundation. Even the most hardened, die-in-the-wool doubting Thomases will soon see a country reborn, a Kenya that dared to dream big, push harder, and break free from the chains of mediocrity. To paraphrase the Irish playwright and critic George Bernard Shaw, and I quote, "Some people see things as they are, and they ask why. We dream of things that never were, and ask, why not?" Please join me and the millions of patriots who believe in a higher standard for our beloved nation. And let us march forward boldly, unbowed, and first march into the future. This is my statement. But allow me to say two more things so that I can conclude. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a great nation. We have a great nation. It is our duty and responsibility to make it greater. I listen a lot to what people say about the present and the future of our country. I listened to one gentleman who retired the other day after working, I think, for 40, 50 years. And he wants to be president. And I listened to him say, Kenya is a failed state. And I asked myself, so for 40 years, you have been working in a failed state? So you want to be president of a failed state? Really? You want us to entrust you to the leadership of a country you don't believe in, to a people you don't believe in? And just for the record, companies like Lindsay liaison, an exchange like Nairobi Stock Exchange, the best listed stock exchange last year in Africa. They don't exist in failed states. I listened to another group of friends and Kenyans, brothers and sisters, who say Ruto must go. And for sure, just like those who were there before me, my time will come and I will go. Just like those who were there before me did. But respectfully, sirs, madams, let me ask you. So, what are your reasons for this Ruto must go? I'm sure it's not because of the spelling of his name. Maybe because you don't agree with the ideas, the policies, and the plan he has for our nation, which is okay. But please, would you kindly favor us with your counter plan, with your alternative plan? Because the more I listen, the more it is sloganeering. It's not about a plan, not about an alternative plan. And, hey, we cannot replace a plan you don't like with nothing. And I hear my brothers and sisters say, let Ruto go, then we will figure out. And we will tell you what is the alternative plan later. We cannot tell you now. To me, that sounds like the wash conmanship. Because if you seriously have a plan that does better on the economy than I have, that does better on health than I have, that does better on creating jobs than I have, that does better on education than I have, you should be bold enough to tell us. One term, Kasongo, Ruto must go, is not enough. And we are going to have a candid conversation. Nobody is going to corner us. Sorry, guys. You have to come up with a better plan. Sloganeering is not enough. The more I listen to them, the more they tell us, oh, let's go back to NHIF. Oh, let's go back to the old model, the NHIF that never worked. Let's go back to the old funding model that crippled our university education. Oh, let's abolish housing. Let's do away with SHA. And to me, they sound like people who are accustomed to the status quo, the usual, the familiar, the no change. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a great nation. It is our duty to make it greater. Thank you very much. God bless you, and I thank you.